Okay, I'm going to try to pick up right where I left off here and make another episode. I made videos in Panama of my adventures in Panama, and very quickly word got out that there was this guy who could make videos. And a couple people would approached me and asked me to make videos for their business. Now, usually they would offer to pay me in like with a sandwich or something, like I was a homeless person. Like I had a sign and I was on a street corner with a sign that said, "We'll work for food." And I said, "Great, I'll just take your crappy sandwich and give it to my landlord. That'll work out fine for me." But once in a while somebody would come along and offer to pay me actual money. And what I realized after a while is that anybody who had a business with money to spend was a criminal. Maybe it was just bad luck, I don't know. So this guy comes and he says, "Hey, I have this business and I want you to come and film some of these seminars that we give." I'm gonna mess this all up, the numbers wise, but he had he was in charge of CDs, credit deposits. People would make these, you know what, it wasn't even a credit deposit, I think it was just a savings account. You could invest your money in this savings account and they would pay out like 9%. So it was a perfect storm for a Ponzi scheme. First time I heard it, I thought, that's a Ponzi scheme. There's no way that they can have a savings account that makes 9%. But that's what he advertised, and that's what almost everyone who moved to Panama, everybody who moved to Panama, the gringos anyways, they're part of this, they're in this new place, in this new community, and if he can get a couple people to invest and then pay out to them, everybody else thinks, wow, that's great. So-and-so's doing it, and they've lived in Panama for a long time, and I'm new here, so this person must know what they're doing. And that's as far as their due diligence went. So I just happened to meet the guy who runs the thing. He was an older gentleman, like maybe 80. I mean, he was an old guy. And he handed me his business card. And on his business card was, of course, his name. And so I got on Google and I looked up his name, and I found out that this guy had a long history of screwing people over and doing just sort of somewhat nefarious deeds, right? The first thing that came up was that this guy, now I can't even remember his name. Crap. Don't go, Mr. Motorcycle Guy. Okay. Neither one of us want to die today. Thank you very much. Can't remember the guy's name. Anyways, it turns out that he was the bag man, all right? During the Watergate scandal, Nixon gave this guy 50 grand to take to somebody else to keep their mouth shut. He was the bag man for this, and he had to do interviews and all that during. I'm not an expert on the Watergate scandal, I'm sorry, but the first thing that comes up when you Google this guy's name is that he was the bag man that did this, that took the money. So he obviously had some connections to some somewhat bad dudes, some people who were not crooks. So then I kept Googling, and I found another thing that he had been indicted for. There was a big company in the 80s, and they did a bunch of terrible things with this is my problem. I didn't want to tell these stories when I lived in Panama because I didn't want these people to come after me, or my wife, more specifically my wife. I would have loved it if they would have come after me. It would have been some excitement. The name, I can't remember the name of the company, but they were investigated by the government, and they did a bunch of stuff, and I think that's when he left the United States for good, because had he gone back, he probably would have been arrested. So this is the guy that all of my friends in Boquete, Panama are investing their money with. And I remember telling Gary, the guy I used to ride with, hey, don't say anything to anybody just yet, but this is probably a Ponzi scheme. and everybody's probably going to lose their money. So don't invest any money. And then a little while later, I talked to him, and he said, "Yeah, man, it sucks. I went down to invest like 10 grand in so-and-so's bank, but they're being investigated by the Panamanian government. They couldn't accept my money." And I'm like, dude, are you an idiot? I got so mad at him. I told you that was a Ponzi scheme. I told you. And he's like, "Well, what proof do you have?" I'm like, "What proof does anybody have? Ponzi schemes, you don't really know until they fall apart." So, oh boy. So actually, right as that was happening, I was moving away from Panama, and I don't officially know if it was a Ponzi scheme or not, but come on, it's a savings account at 9% in Panama, and it's run by some gringo guy. So whatever it is, it's probably not legit. And I don't know what happened to that guy. I think he was living in Panama, but he was an American, but he was a Colombian. He had like citizenship in Colombia, so he could have taken off at any moment with everybody's money. And it was just a great place, you know, to do a Ponzi scheme, I thought, because you have all these new people who are usually, when you're new to an area, you take the advice of the people who have been there for a while. And all these people that had been there for a while are telling them, "Yeah, you got to invest your money here. You can live off the interest. So invest your life savings with this guy, and then you just pay your rent and everything from the interest that he pays you every month." It's great. So that made me mad, and I tried to warn some people about it, but even the people I warned didn't listen. You know, they wanted to invest anyways. So when visiting Panama, if approached by a gringo, they usually tell you, "Hey, this is my business, but you need to do your due diligence." Most people, they never do it. They never do the due diligence. It's almost like if somebody says that, they feel like, well, they wouldn't tell me to do due diligence if it was a shady operation. Obviously, this guy must be honest because he's asking me to investigate him, so I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to use that to rationalize not actually doing any due diligence. So that's my story about that. That was another sort of investigation that I did, little private eye work that I did about this guy. And after I met him in Panama and filmed all this stuff and then found out all these bad things about him, I was walking through Panama City one day, and there he was eating at an outdoor cafe with like a couple other people. And I went over to him and said hi. I said, "Hey, remember me? I filmed that stuff for you in Boquete." And we talked for a little bit, and I really wanted to like try to get more information out of him, but I was in Panama City because I was about to leave to the United States, and I was just out of time. So look, that sign has Google Fiber on it. Makes you want to live in Provo, but Provo kind of sucks. So anyways, this has been an episode of True Story Sunday about a Ponzi scheme that I'm pretty sure that I uncovered in Panama. Ride safe, travel far, do it soon.